I was halfway through heating up leftover chili when the doorbell rang. Tuesday night. No heads up, no call, just ding-dong. And suddenly my wife's whole damn family was on our porch, grinning like they'd won the lottery. Damon, her brother, barged in first, still wearing his ridiculous muscle-fit work shirt like he'd just come from selling overpriced supplements. Kelsey followed, practically bouncing. And their dad, Ron, dragged behind them carrying a laptop bag like it was the Ark of the Covenant. "Hey, hey," Damon said, clapping me on the back hard enough to make me spill some chili on my hoodie. "Big night, man. Big future." I looked over at my wife, Jenna. She didn't look surprised. She was already clearing off the coffee table like she knew exactly what was coming. What's going on?" I asked. "We found something," Kelsey said, plopping down cross-legged on the rug like a kid at story time. "Something real. Game-changing. Life-changing," Damon added, already flipping open the laptop. Before I could even say no thanks, Ron chimed in from behind me, grinning like he'd taken a happy pill. "We wanted you to be part of it before the opportunity closes." Damon spun the laptop around. The screen showed a shiny interface labeled Coruscant Pro. A blue and silver dashboard blinked with numbers that looked way too round to be real. Graphs going straight up. Buttons labeled Growth Portal, Expansion Tree, Mentorship Matrix. "This is the platform," Damon said. "Coruscant Pro. This isn't just some app. It's the future of wealth building." "It's not just a business," Kelsey said. "It's a mission. Passive income while helping people level up. We're empowering communities." I looked over at Jenna, who nodded along like she'd already been coached. Then Ron stepped forward, pulled out his phone, and opened the same Coruscant app I got in 2 weeks ago with $5,000, he said, jabbing at the screen. "Check this out. My growth portal's already at 57,000. "You're telling me that turned into 57 grand in 2 weeks? I asked, squinting at the screen. He turned it toward me. It was a bunch of green digits and upward arrows. "It's all about leverage. Early entry. I'm a Tier 1 founder. And you think I should sign up for this?" Kelsey beamed. "Not think. No. You don't want to be on the outside when this thing takes off." I looked around the room. Their faces lit up like they just found religion. And I knew right then this wasn't a visit. It was a setup. I walked into the kitchen, grabbed a beer, and leaned against the fridge. "All right," I said. "So how exactly does this thing work?" I asked, cracking open the beer. Damon slid the laptop closer, like he was about to walk me through a treasure map. "It's a growth licensing network," he said, tapping one of the boxes on the dashboard. "You pay for access to a proprietary income ecosystem. Once you're in, you build your branch. Every person you bring in creates residual earnings under your account." "Like referrals?" "Way more than referrals," Kelsey jumped in. "You license people into your stream. This compounding growth. Everyone under you becomes a revenue channel." I tilted my head. "So I give you money, and then I make money by bringing in more people to also give you money?" They all nodded, smiling like I just had a breakthrough. "Okay, so that's literally a pyramid." Damon sat back, frowning like I'd insulted his religion. "It's not a pyramid. It's tiered expansion with decentralized profit sharing." "That's just fancy wording for pyramid," I said. "This is MLM crap dressed up with shiny graphs." Ron jumped in, shaking his head. "Son, listen. You're looking at it too traditionally. The whole world's changing. Gatekeepers are out. The system rewards who shows up early." Before I could fire back, Jenna spoke for the first time since they started. Her voice was low, but steady. "It's not about tricking people. It's about positioning. The people who hesitated last month, they're already locked out of Tier 1. "Exactly," Kelsey said, pointing at Jenna. "Enrollment for Tier 2 closes Monday night. After that, you're a follower instead of a founder." I looked at Jenna. Her eyes were fixed on the screen like it was a portal to a better life. She never looked at me like that when I talked about real estate or saving for retirement. "What's the buy-in?" I asked. Damon gave a little shrug, like it was no big deal. 45 grand. I choked on the sip I'd just taken. 45,000? Are you out of your damn mind? That's all our savings. It's not spending, Jenna said quickly. It's reallocating. I stared at her. That's some Coruscant language right there. They walk you through a full growth projection before anything's final, Damon said. The ROI is insane. I've got a guy in Tulsa who made back his license in 9 days. Kelsey leaned in. You too could be debt-free before Christmas. No more student loans. No more waiting to buy a house. You'd own your time. You don't even know what the company sells. I shot back. What's the actual product? It's not about a product, Ron said, like I was the dumbest guy in the room. It's about infrastructure. You buy the system. Then the system works for you. I looked around at their faces, glassy-eyed, wired on whatever this delusion was. Jenna had her hands clasped like she was praying, like she already believed this was our answer. This is why we brought it to you now, Damon said. You've got a window. After Monday, the floor shifts. You wait, you lose your spot in the tree. Plain and simple. Before I could answer, Jenna stood up, her voice picking up. What if this is the thing that changes everything for us? My jaw tightened. And what if it's the thing that ruins everything for us? Nobody said anything. Damon just leaned forward again and clicked a few buttons, pulling up another screen with a chart showing potential earnings. It looked like fantasy football for broke people. Jenna sat back down next to him. Her voice was quiet, but she wasn't talking to them anymore. She was talking to me. We always say we're tired of scraping by. This could give us a real shot. I looked at her, really looked. She wasn't dreaming. She was deciding. I stood up, walked to the hallway, and pulled our safe key from the drawer. You're not touching a dime of that money, I said. Not until I know what the hell this really is. She didn't say anything that night after I locked up the safe. Just went upstairs, closed the bedroom door, and left me on the couch with the empty beer can and that damn dashboard still glowing on the laptop. The next few days were weird. Not loud fighting weird, quiet weird. Jenna moved through the house like she was walking on a different floor than me. She'd lower her voice every time she took a call, which was constant now. Always Kelsey. Always behind a closed door. I caught pieces. Phase 2 onboarding. Mentorship call with Bryce from Denver. Secured spot in the top circle. All that Coruscant language like she was being reprogrammed one phone call at a time. She barely made eye contact. Barely touched her plate at dinner. But she sure as hell scrolled through her phone like it was spitting out gold. By Saturday morning, she was sitting at the kitchen counter in full makeup, showing me TikToks of people claiming Coruscant turned their lives around. This girl was a vet tech. Now she works from a yacht, Jenna said, shoving the phone in front of me. Look at her dashboard. I glanced at the video. A blonde girl grinning in front of a rented boat, pointing at some green numbers on her screen. No dates. No actual bank info. No proof. Jenna, I said, calm but firm. These are screenshots, not tax returns, not pay stubs. I could Photoshop this crap in 20 minutes. She rolled her eyes, yanked the phone back. You're always so damn skeptical. I'm cautious. There's a difference. You're negative. Her tone cut hard. This is why people stay broke. They doubt instead of act. That one hit harder than she knew, because I was tired of struggling too. But I wasn't about to burn our life down chasing fairy dust from TikTok millionaires. That night, after she went to bed, I stayed up doing real research. I dug through business databases, investor reports, Reddit threads, anything with Coruscant Pro in the title. And what I found? Nothing solid. No license filings. No actual office address. Just the same recycled videos and fake testimonials passed around from one wannabe founder to another. Even the domain registry was private. No CEO name, no team bios, just vague nonsense about abundance mindset and unlocking decentralized wealth. It wasn't just a scam, it was a ghost. I shut the laptop and sat there in the dark, breathing heavy, because the problem wasn't just that the company was fake. It was that she believed it was real. She was slipping away not just from me, but toward them. toward her sister, her brother, that culty little community she kept talking about. She didn't even look at me like her husband anymore. I was just the guy in the way. The next morning, I brought it up again. Tried to tread lightly. I did some digging, I said while pouring coffee. There's no proof Coruscant is even licensed to do business. No leadership team, no actual product. Just a bunch of recycled hype. She didn't even look up. You went digging because you're scared of change. No, I said. I went digging because you want to drain our savings into something that has no foundation. You're so obsessed with control. I leaned on the counter. I'm obsessed with not getting screwed. Finally, she stood up and grabbed her phone. Kelsey says the people who doubt always come around too late. She also said she was going to college. I snapped. And we saw how that turned out. Jenna flinched but didn't answer. She walked out the door, keys in hand, muttering something about being around people who get it. I didn't follow. I just sat back down and stared at my coffee. She wasn't chasing money anymore. She was chasing someone else's dream, and I was the dead weight. The front door slammed just after 8. I was sitting at the table, still in the same chair, my second cup of cold coffee untouched. Jenna walked in like she'd just come back from war, with a mission and a pile of evidence. Her arms were full of papers, a notebook stuffed with highlighted phrases, and a brand new Coruscant Pro water bottle in that same blue and silver color scheme. She didn't say hi. She dumped everything on the table right in front of me. I talked to 5 different people today, she said. All full-time, all thriving. 2 of them retired their spouses. 1 is moving to Costa Rica. I raised my eyebrows, not touching a single sheet. Let me guess. None of them showed a bank statement. They don't need to, she snapped. You can see it in their life. They're free. Or they're lying, I said. Or repeating the same story they were told to sell this crap to someone else. She held up a color-coded income projection sheet like it was gospel. You just refuse to see what's possible. No, I said, keeping my voice level. I refuse to make decisions off screenshots and fairy tales. You want to show me someone's real deposit history? A W-2? Great. Until then, this is just expensive fan fiction. She shoved the papers back into a pile, face tight. You're doing it again. Doing what? Trying to keep us small. That stopped me. I leaned back in the chair. Is that what you really think? She crossed her arms and didn't blink. Yeah. Every time something bigger than your comfort zone comes along, you try to kill it. Bigger doesn't mean better. Sometimes it just means more dangerous. Her eyes welled up, not from sadness, frustration. Like she was wasting time talking to someone who didn't speak her language anymore. This isn't just about money, she said. It's about choosing belief over fear. I looked at the water bottle. The slogan printed on the side said, "Expand or be left behind." It actually made my stomach turn. And where exactly did you get all this? I asked. Was there a booth? A Coruscant pop-up shop in the Target parking lot. I went to Kelsey's, she said, already grabbing her purse again. They had a group meeting. The mentor from Arizona was on Zoom. You'd know if you ever showed up. I stood up now. You mean showed up to a cult meeting disguised as a business opportunity? She froze in the doorway. I'm going back to her place, she said quietly. I need to be around people who believe in abundance, not someone who shoots holes in everything. Right? I said. God forbid I ask where our money is actually going. She slung her purse over her shoulder, walked past me, and didn't look back. The door shut a little too gently this time. Not slammed, not loud, like she didn't want to disturb me anymore. I stood there in the hallway, watching the empty space where she'd just been. And all I could think was, she wasn't being pulled into a business. She was being pulled away from me. I didn't go after her. I just locked the door and stood there until the house felt empty enough to breathe again. That night, she didn't come home until after midnight. I heard her footsteps upstairs, soft and careful, like she didn't want me to know she was back. No talking, no lights switching on, just the quiet shuffle of someone sneaking around her own house. The next morning, she was gone again before sunrise. By Monday night, I started noticing little changes. Her checking her phone every few minutes, her eyes drifting toward the safe, her fingers tapping like she was rehearsing something. She barely spoke, barely looked at me. It felt like she'd replaced me in her head with that damn mentor from Arizona. Around 1 in the morning, I got up for water and noticed a faint glow coming from the office down the hall. At first, I thought she'd left the lamp on. But when I stepped closer, I realized it was her laptop screen. Open. I walked in and froze. The banking login page was sitting there. Our bank. Our joint account. And the username field was filled in with my email. I leaned in. The password box had dots in it, like she'd already typed something. Above it, in tiny red letters, it said, 3 failed attempts. Account temporarily locked. My stomach dropped. I clicked details. The page showed the timestamps. 11:52 p.m., 11:54, 11:57. All attempts blocked. Then I checked my phone. I hadn't even noticed it earlier because the alerts were buried under spam texts. But there it was. 2-factor authentication request denied. Suspicious activity blocked. She tried to access our savings while I slept. My throat tightened, a hot, sharp feeling, part anger, part shock. She didn't even tell me she was thinking about it. She just went for it. Full speed. No discussion. I sat down in her chair and stared at the screen. The cursor blinked like it was mocking me, waiting for someone to enter the right password and finish the job. For a second, I pictured her standing exactly where I was, hands shaking, typing the password she thought I used, trying again, and again, and again, determined, desperate, maybe even convinced she was saving us. But the truth was plain. She tried to steal our money to feed a scam. I shut the laptop, hard enough that the sound echoed through the hallway. The next morning, I didn't say a word to her. She floated around the kitchen humming, acting normal, pretending her late-night heist hadn't just blown a crater in our marriage. She kissed me on the cheek like everything was fine, grabbed her keys and left. The second she was gone, I called a lawyer. I found a family attorney in town who handled marital asset protection. His voice was steady, calm, the exact opposite of how I felt. I told him everything, minus the shouting I wanted to do. She attempted unauthorized access? He asked. 3 times. I said. Probably would have emptied the account if the system let her. Then you need to separate your assets immediately. He walked me through the steps. Open an individual account, move my half of the savings, secure personal property, lock down passwords, document everything. He didn't even sound surprised. Made me wonder how many people had called for the same reason. Some spouse chasing the next fake dream while dragging the family off a cliff. I spent the rest of the afternoon doing exactly what he told me. New account, new passwords. I even called the bank to flag any unusual activity. I felt guilty doing it, like I was betraying her. But that guilt faded every time I pictured that red line of failed login attempts on the screen. By the time Jenna came home around 5, everything was locked down. She walked in holding another stack of Coruscant papers and didn't notice the tension in the room. Didn't notice the new file on my desk. Didn't notice the way I watched her like I was seeing a stranger. She kissed my cheek again. The same fake normalcy. The same bright, frantic smile. We had another meeting today, she said. I talked to someone who made 30 grand in 1 week. I didn't answer. I didn't trust myself to. She headed upstairs to change, humming that same tuned-up optimism they kept selling her. And I sat there on the couch, phone still warm from the lawyer's call, realizing just how far she'd already drifted away, and how fast I needed to act if I didn't want to lose everything. Before she came back down, I grabbed my jacket and keys. I walked out the door without a sound. I drove straight to the attorney's office that morning. No coffee, no breakfast, just a tight chest and a folder full of printouts I didn't want to believe I needed. He walked me through every step, slow, steady, like he'd done this for 100 other people in the exact same kind of nightmare. You have every legal right to protect your portion of the marital assets, he said, especially if there's reason to believe one party is making decisions under coercion, manipulation, or false promises. False promises, I muttered. That's the whole business model. By noon, we had a plan. I opened a separate checking account under my name only. Moved exactly half the money from the joint savings into it down to the cent. We filed the legal paperwork that froze her access to the rest unless both of us agreed in writing. I wasn't playing games anymore. After that, I went home and started gathering everything I didn't want disappearing if things got worse. My grandfather's watch, my old comic collection, the wedding ring I didn't feel right wearing anymore. I boxed up what mattered, rented a storage unit across town, and dropped it all off that afternoon. I kept the key on me. That night, she came through the door humming again. Same upbeat energy, same over-the-top smile. This time, she had a new glow, like she'd just been touched by some holy spirit I didn't recognize. "I met someone incredible today," she said, setting down her purse. "Her name's Delaney. She's flying in tomorrow to meet with us. She's Coruscant's top mentor on the West Coast." I didn't flinch. I just nodded like I was hearing about a PDA meeting. "She's only in town for the day," Jenna went on. "She said she's choosy about who she works with. She usually charges $500 an hour just for access. But Kelsey got us in. This is huge." "Sounds big," I said, keeping my tone light. "So she's the one who helps people build their branch?" "She's the one who builds empires," Jenna said, like it was already done. "You're gonna love her." I smiled and kept my hands in my pockets, so she couldn't see how tight my fists were clenched. "You know what?" I said. "Maybe it's time I hear her out." Her eyes lit up. "Really?" "Yeah," I said. "If you're this sure about it, I owe it to you to at least listen." She came over and hugged me like I'd finally seen the light. I wrapped my arms around her and nodded against her shoulder. But inside, I was clocking everything. How far gone she was, how deeply they had her, how this Delaney was about to roll in and try to sell me my own wife back for 45 grand. I knew tomorrow was the pitch, the big one, the final squeeze, so I smiled and played along, and quietly braced for the exact second she crossed the line. Saturday afternoon, I was already standing by the window when she pulled up. White BMW convertible, top down, music thumping, like she was arriving at a red carpet event instead of a middle-class house in central Indiana. The license plate frame said, "Ask me about freedom." It was almost too on the nose. Delaney stepped out in heels way too high for a residential driveway. Sunglasses, designer bag, Bluetooth earpiece still clipped to her ear. She didn't knock, just let herself in like she'd done this 100 times before. Jenna lit up the second she walked through the door. "Delaney, this is him. This is who I told you about." Delaney gave me that overly firm handshake salespeople learn in seminars. "You must be the skeptical husband," she said, all charm and teeth. I smiled back. "That's me." We sat down in the living room. Jenna brought out the branded water bottles and printouts like we were about to sign a mortgage. Delaney dove in fast. "This isn't just an income model. It's a lifestyle transformation," she said. "We don't chase money. We attract it. We build circles, not pyramids. You choose your pace, your growth, your destiny." She started flipping through slides on her tablet, images of beaches, testimonials, color-coded earning brackets. All of it polished and vague. Jenna was hanging on every word. I nodded along, pretending to be curious. "So who's actually behind Coruscant? Like the leadership, the structure?" Delaney didn't blink. "Leadership isn't top-down in our community. That's the old economy. This is decentralized. Right, but someone owns the platform, yeah? There's got to be a board or a founder or..." She waved her hand. "Ownership is outdated. This is about ownership of your life." I stared at her. "So, no names? No faces?" She smiled wider. "That's why it works. Nobody's dependent on a figurehead. We're all leaders." I nodded slowly, like I hadn't just heard a red flag scream at full volume. She went on for another 10 minutes about freedom, alignment, and tapping into overflow. Every time I asked a direct question, business license, legal structure, income disclosures, she pivoted right back to buzzwords. Jenna didn't care. She leaned forward like she was watching a preacher, like she'd already signed over her loyalty and just needed me to nod once so she could uncap the safe and hit send. Delaney finally looked at me and said, "You're either going to be a part of this or spend the next 5 years wondering why you didn't listen." I looked at Jenna. She looked back like she already had the answer loaded. "I believe in this," she said. "This is the first thing in years that's made me feel awake. And if you can't get on board, if you're going to keep dragging your feet and doubting everything, then get out of my way." The room went still. Delaney didn't flinch. She knew the script. She'd seen this ultimatum before, maybe even trained them to deliver it. I leaned back on the couch and looked at Jenna for a long second. "Okay," I said, "if that's how it is." She didn't say another word, just sat there, back straight, eyes hard, like she was ready to rewrite her life without me in it. And I could feel it in my gut. She wasn't bluffing. I didn't sleep much that night. After Delaney left, Jenna barely said a word. She just moved through the house like someone packing up her soul. I heard her on the phone with Kelsey again around midnight, whispering behind the bathroom door. Phrases like, "He's almost there," and "We just need the funds lined up." She thought I couldn't hear her. She was wrong. By 1:30, I was still awake, lying in bed with my eyes on the ceiling when I heard the creak. That old floorboard outside my office, second one in from the hallway, always gave her away. I didn't move at first, just listened. The door eased open. Another soft creak. Then silence. I got up quietly, barefoot, and walked down the hall. When I turned the corner, the glow from the monitor hit her face like a spotlight. She jumped when she saw me. Her fingers froze over the keyboard. "I was just checking something," she said fast. I stepped into the room, stared straight at the screen. She was on the bank's transfer page, logged in, cursor hovering over the savings account. "Don't lie to me," I said. Her mouth opened, then shut. "I just wanted to see how much was there," she said. "I wasn't going to move anything. You were halfway through a transfer." "I didn't click anything," she said. "I swear." "Jesus, Jenna," I cut in. "You're trying to steal from me now?" "I'm not stealing. It's our money. Not the part one locked down. Not after what you pulled earlier this week." She stood up, arms folded tight across her chest like that would shield her from what she was doing. "You're being ridiculous. This is about us. Our future. We just need the capital to move into Tier 2. The rest takes care of itself. You were going to drain our account while I slept." "No, I wasn't." "Stop. Just stop." I walked over and closed the laptop. Her hands fell away from the desk like I'd slammed a door on them. "We can use the house if we need to," she said, her voice softer now, almost pleading. "Ron said they can refinance. We can do a short-term line of credit. If we get in now, it'll pay for itself." I stared at her like she was a stranger in my own home. "You're gambling our life on fairy dust. You're talking about using the house as collateral for a company that doesn't even have a phone number." She looked down at her feet, then back at me with tears in her eyes. But it wasn't sadness. It was frustration, like I was the one ruining something perfect. "You don't understand," she said. "This could be it. This could finally change everything." "It already has changed everything," I said. "And not in the way you think." She stayed quiet. "You keep going down this road," I said, stepping back, "you're gonna lose more than money. You'll lose everything." That one hit. I saw it in the way her jaw tightened, the way her shoulders sank just slightly before she picked herself back up. "This is bigger than fear," she said. "No," I said. "This is delusion." She walked past me without a word and disappeared into the bedroom. I waited until the door clicked shut, then opened the laptop again, logged her out, changed the password. I sat there for a long time staring at the screen, savings intact, but everything else slipping. They showed up Monday night like it was an intervention. Jenna walked in first, dressed up like she was heading to a job interview she already thought she'd nailed. Damon and Kelsey came right behind her, both fake smiles and bright eyes, and then Ron brought up the rear with a folder under his arm like he was about to close a real estate deal. I was already at the dining table, arms crossed, laptop shut. "We just want to talk," Jenna said. Damon pulled out a chair without asking. One last conversation, man to man. Let's clear the air. Kelsey placed a printout in front of me. Another one of those ridiculous growth charts with curved arrows and color-coded branches. Ron sat down like he lived there. We think this is a moment where you can choose trust over fear. Jenna loves you. We all want this to work. For both of you. Jenna took my hand gently. This doesn't have to be a fight. We can build something. Together. But the window's closing. The Tier 2 cycle ends tonight at midnight. I pulled my hand back. I already told you this thing doesn't add up. No product, no structure, no proof. Just people pressuring each other into debt. Kelsey sighed. You're stuck in employee thinking. This is about belief. Damon leaned in, elbows on the table. You keep thinking like that, you're gonna watch her pass you by. You think that's not already happening. That's when I smiled. Tight, tired smile. You think I've been sitting here waiting for you to talk me into this? I said. I moved half the money already. Friday. It's protected. The air changed instantly. Jenna's face went pale. Kelsey's mouth fell open. Ron froze mid-reach. You what? Jenna asked. It's done. The rest is frozen. You won't get to it without me signing off. And I won't be signing off on anything connected to Coruscant. Damon stood up. Wow. Real controlling move, man. No, I said. It's a survival move. You're all in so deep you don't even see the scam for what it is. Jenna's voice cracked. You didn't even tell me. You didn't tell me when you tried to transfer it in the middle of the night. She blinked. I wasn't. You were. I caught you. Don't lie again. Kelsey started in with the guilt. She believed in something. You could have supported her. She believed in people who see her as a commission. Jenna's jaw clenched. They see me. You don't. I stood up. You're right. I don't see you anymore. Not the you I married. Ron raised his voice. This is your last chance to come with her. Be a partner. Or get left behind. Jenna looked at me like the decision was mine. Like she was still hoping I'd cave. But I didn't blink. If you go with them, I said, you stay with them. Don't come back when this falls apart. The room went still. Jenna looked at Damon. Then Kelsey. Then back at me. I'm going, she said. With them. Then go, I said. And take your mission with you. She picked up her bag slowly. Walked to the door. Her keys shook a little in her hand, but her face stayed cold. Nobody said goodbye. I watched the door close behind her and felt nothing but quiet. No rage. No heartbreak. Just relief. She was gone. And I meant every word. There was no coming back. The next morning, I got up early, packed what was left, and drove straight to the courthouse. Emergency divorce filing. No delays. No joint sessions. No reconciliation request. I handed the clerk the paperwork and didn't look back. By noon, I was gone. I left the divorce papers on the kitchen counter with a note that said exactly what needed to be said. You made your choice. I'm making mine. 6 months later, I was living in a one-bedroom house on the edge of town. Small yard, chipped paint, quiet neighbors. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. No shared accounts, no whispers through bathroom doors, no cult slogans taped to the fridge. Just peace. I still remember the day I got the text from a buddy. Coruscant just went dark. Whole thing collapsed. News hit that same week. The site was gone. Dashboards frozen. People locked out of their portals. No refunds. No support. No legal recourse. Turns out the founder, whoever he was, had pulled everything offshore months ago. Thousands of people lost everything. Jenna included. I didn't reach out, but word got around. Kelsey moved back in with their dad. Damon vanished from social media. Jenna ended up in a studio apartment above a strip mall on the north side. Deep in debt, still trying to rebuild with the last few believers. She sent me one message. Just one. I thought it was real. I didn't respond, because by then it wasn't about the money. It never was. The biggest lesson wasn't how to spot a scam. It was this: when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Don't wait for proof. Don't beg for change. Just look and listen. I loved her. God knows I did. But she chose a fantasy over our life. And I wasn't gonna sit around and let her burn me with it.